Hello and welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess, and today our quiz is all about the 40s and 50s. So, is that your era? Shall we find out? Which type of rationed food in the 1940s Britain was surprisingly used to make wedding cakes during the war? Potato starch, condensed milk, or dried egg powder? Dried egg powder. Which forgotten invention from the 1940s was once considered the future of reading but failed due to wartime material shortages? Pocket projectors, microfilm books, or audio scrolls? Microfilm books. Which brand, now known for motor oil, once sold do-it-yourself atomic chemistry kits for kids in the 1950s? Shell, Esso, or Texaco? Esso. Which type of fabric, once promoted to American housewives in the 50s as non-iron, was developed for parachutes in World War II? Nylon, rayon, or polyester? Nylon. Which post-war food trend in the UK involved turning canned fruit and evaporated milk into a national dessert favourite? Jam roly-poly, Arctic roll, or trifle? Arctic roll. Which type of secret training was provided to American children in the late 1940s for decoding Soviet messages? Morse code drills, pattern recognition sheets, or civil defense coloring books? Morse code drills. What rarely known 1950s practice helped American farmers predict frost damage using a household glass bottle? Ice ring reflection, dew swirl magnification, or neck cloud fogging? Ice ring reflection. What World War II navigational tool for bomber crews became popular among civilian pilots in the 1950s? Grid reference dial, road map compass, or E6B flight computer? E6B, a flight computer. Which 1940s film technique, once advertised as smell-o-vision, was trialled in select cinemas to enhance storytelling? Aromarama, Science Sync, Sense Sync, or No Scope? Aromarama. What rare 1950s American household item was marketed as a time saver but banned for safety issues after months? Automatic ironing board, gas-powered hairdryer, or heated baby crib? Heated baby crib. Which 1940s invention helped housewives dry clothes indoors without electricity or coal fuel drying cabinets? Pulley error, wind spinner, or heat rods? Pulley error. What ingredient was used in 1940s British tea blends to stretch limited imports during wartime rationing? Crushed leaves, dried apple peel, or roasted barley? Roasted barley. Which 1950s children's toy included a radioactive element before safety regulations pulled it from stores? Atomic lab kit, laser crystal set, or solar gun kit? Atomic lab kit. Which 1940s airline served in-flight meals using real silverware and linen tablecloths in economy class? BOAC, Pan Am or TWA? Pan Am. Which 1950s American serial used a comic book style detective story to market itself to boys? Sugar Jets, Wheaties, or Post Toasties? Sugar Jets. Which 1940s US rationed item became so valuable that people offered jewellery to exchange for it? Gasoline, nylon stockings, or sugar cubes? Nylon stockings. Which rare 1940s military training approach prepared soldiers for high-altitude combat without leaving the ground? Hypoxia drills, pressure mask rehearsals, or vacuum simulation tents? Hypoxia drills. Which 1940s candy was secretly designed to keep soldiers alert during night missions in World War II? Victory Pep Chews, M&Ms, or Stay Awake gum? Stay Awake gum. Which item was offered as a door prize during 1950s American house parties promoting plastic kitchenware? TV dinner trays, Tupperware burp bowl, or popcorn scooper? Tupperware burp bowl. Which 1940s watch brand produced models with radium-based luminous dials later deemed hazardous due to radioactivity? Omega, Panare, or Rolex? Panare. Which 1940s American wartime campaign encouraged citizens to save bacon grease for military explosive production? Grease for Glory, Kitchen Army Drive, or Fat Salvage Campaign? Fat Salvage Campaign. Which 1950s British train service was famed for offering full silver service dining at high speed? Silver Streak Express, the Golden Arrow, or the Flying Scotsman? Which 1940s musical hit was banned on some American stations due to its suggestive lyrics and rhythms? Boogie Woogie Boogie Boy, Rum and Coca-Cola, or Showa Show Shoo Shoo Baby? Rum and Coca-Cola. Which 1950s invention used a magnetic sound head to record images onto tape before videotape existed? Wire recorder, telerecorder disc, or kinescope machine? Kinescope machine. Which 1940s invention helped Londoners navigate blackout nights by glowing faintly in the dark? Moonbeam lanterns, luminous street signs, or photophorescent buttons? Photophorescent buttons. Which 1950s American dishwashers required special tokens instead of coin slots at laundromats? Speed Queen Jets, Maytag Timer Wash, or Bendix Dial a Clean? Bendix Dial a Clean. Which 1940s women's fashion trend was directly influenced by military uniforms cuts and rationing regulations? Swing coats, utility clothing, or victory blazers? Utility clothing. Which American 1950s toy first introduced a built-in periscope inspired by submarine spy technology: spy eye rifle, superscope gun, or periscope playset? Spy eye rifle. Which 1940s toothpaste brand advertised itself as a cure for film on teeth caused by atomic fallout? Atomic Smile, Apana, or Radium Fresh? Apana. Which 1950s car brand introduced transparent roof panels promoted as high sky motoring to suburban families? Plymouth Vista Dome, Chevy Sunbeam, or Ford Skyliner? Ford Skyliner. Which 1940s radio show hired real FBI agents to review scripts before every episode aired? Gangbusters, The Shadow, or Dragnet? Gangbusters. Which 1950s lipstick shade was created to match the exact red used on telephone boxes in Britain? Scarlet Signal, Pillar Box Red, or Royal Rouge? Pillar Box Red. Which 1940s US law allowed returned soldiers to buy farms with loans but excluded black veterans? GI Home Ownership Act, Soldier Resettlement Bill, or Servicemen's Readjustment Act? Servicemen's Readjustment Act. Which 1950s fashion item was originally sold as an air pump to adjust hip volume for skirts? Bubble dress, inflatable petticoat, or crinoline balloon? Inflatable petticoat. Which 1940s food item was banned in Britain for its wasteful luxury during wartime rationing? Ice cream, canned peaches, or fondant sweets? Ice cream. What stimulant was commonly issued to World War II soldiers to maintain alertness during extended combat missions? Caffeine tablets, amphetamines, or cocoa leaves? Amphetamines. Which 1940s UK government issued pamphlet taught housewives how to reuse tea leaves for cleaning? Make Do Amend, War Home Hacks, or Economy First Guide? Make Do and Mend. Which 1950s American cookbook included recipes specifically designed to survive nuclear fallout conditions? Atomic Kitchen, The Doomsday Cookbook, or Meals for Shelter Living? Meals for Shelter Living. Which 1940s London theatre used a periscope system so people behind pillars could see the stage? Windmill Theatre, the Criterion, or the Royal Haymarket? The Criterion. Which 1950s toothpaste ran ads claiming its mint flavour could help prevent courtship embarrassment? Gleam, Kolinos, or Pepsodent? Kolinos. Which 1940s American brand introduced the first disposable razor, revolutionising grooming for soldiers during World War II? Gillette, Schick, or Wilkinson? Schick. Which 1950s television show was the first to have its theme song performed by a live orchestra during broadcasts? I Love Lucy, The Twilight Zone, or The Ed Sullivan Show? The Ed Sullivan Show. Which 1940s communication tool required operators to manually collect each phone call before automation arrived? Crankbox, switchboard, or rotary spooler? It's a switchboard. Which 1940s cosmetic product helped women simulate stockings during nylon shortages by tinting their legs? Beetroot juice, liquid leg makeup, or burnt match ash? Liquid leg makeup. Which 1940s American radio show used sound effects to stimulate war scenes, making it a national hit during World War II? War of the Worlds, The Green Hornet, or The Shadow? War of the Worlds. Which 1950s car model featured the first tail fin, later becoming an iconic feature in American car design? Chevrolet Corvette, Cadillac Eldorado, or Ford Thunderbird? Cadillac Eldorado. Which 1940s technological innovation was a precursor to modern television using mechanical scanning techniques for broadcasts? Cathode ray tube, Nipkow disc, or electron microscope? Nipkow disc. Which 1950s breakfast cereal first introduced a mascot named Sugar Bear, who later became a pop culture icon? Golden Crisp, Sugar Frosted Flakes, or Cheerios? Golden Crisp. Which 1940s medical discovery was considered a breakthrough in treating tuberculosis and saving millions of lives? Penicillin, streptomycin, or insulin? Streptomycin. Which energetic dance was banned in several US towns for allegedly promoting rebellion and public indecency? The Lindy Hop, Jitterbug, or the Stroll? The Jitterbug. What revolutionary 1940s invention allowed more precise military navigation during World War II, changing modern air travel? Radar, GPS, or sonar? Radar. What innovative 1940s car feature introduced by Chrysler was a major leap in automotive design? Power steering, automatic transmission, or air conditioning? Automatic transmission. Which 1940s scientific breakthrough paved the way for the discovery of penicillin's ability to fight bacterial infections? Alexander Fleming's research, Marie Curie's radiation studies, or the discovery of X-rays? Alexander Fleming's research. What unusual ingredients became a focus of wartime rationing during the 1940s, often used in cakes and pies? Potatoes, carob, or marmite? Carob. Which critical invention from the 1940s greatly impacted the efficiency of the military during World War II, particularly in aircraft? Jet engines, radial engines, or turbocharged engines? Jet engines. What important scientific development started in the late 1940s revolutionized telecommunications and computing? The transistor, the microchip, or the vacuum tube? The transistor. Which 1940s economic plan initiated by the US helped rebuild Western Europe after World War II? The Marshall Plan, New Deal, or the Bretton Woods Agreement? Marshall Plan. Which 1950s development in television technology marked a major leap in home entertainment, leading to widespread adoption? Colour broadcasting, high definition TVs, or satellite dishes? Colour broadcasting. During the 1940s, what type of weapon used by the US forever altered global politics and warfare? The atomic bomb, chemical weapons, or the stealth bomber? The atomic bomb. Which 1940s invention made it possible for businesses to keep records digitally for the first time? The computer punch, the magnetic tape, or the typewriter? The computer punch card. Which worldwide event in the 1940s led directly to the founding of the United Nations in 1945? The Holocaust, World War II, or the Cold War? World War II. What economic trend, popularised in the 1950s, led to the rapid growth of suburban neighbourhoods in the US? The rise of consumerism, the GI Bill, or the Industrial Revolution? The GI Bill. Which 1950s invention transformed how people listened to music by making records portable and easy to play everywhere? The jukebox, the transistor radio, or the Walkman? The transistor radio. In 1948, which organisation was formed to promote human rights and provide international aid in post-World War II world? NATO, United Nations, or the World Health Organization? United Nations. What material invented in the 1940s quickly became a staple in construction due to its strength and lightness? Plastic, aluminium, or steel? Excuse me. That was aluminium. In 1950, what disease did the US initiate widespread vaccination programs for, drastically reducing its global spread? Smallpox, polio, or measles? That was polio. What innovation from the 1940s allowed for faster data processing, significantly changing office and military work? The desktop computer, the mainframe computer, or the typewriter? The mainframe computer. Which 1950s US program was launched to promote public awareness and preparation for potential nuclear war threats? Civil Defense, the Red Scare, or Operation Paperclip? Civil Defense. What product introduced in the late 1940s became synonymous with American convenience food culture thanks to mass production? Frozen TV dinners, instant coffee, or canned soups? Frozen TV dinners. What famous 1950s technological advancement in automobiles made cars more efficient by reducing exhaust emissions? Catalytic converters, fuel injectors, or automatic transmissions? Catalytic converters. Which 1940s development allowed blind Americans to read faster without relying on human narrators? Braille printing expansion, raised print material, or talking books program? Talking books program. Which 1950s public health effort helped eliminate widespread rickets cases among British school children? Free cod liver oil, milk fortification, or compulsory sunlight exposure? Milk fortification. What 1940s radar-based advancement was later adapted to monitor and forecast storm systems worldwide? Weather radar, sonar imaging, or radio echo sounding? Weather radar. Which wartime rationing shift altered American baking by promoting the use of alternative grain flours? Victory Bread Campaign, Cornmeal Movement, or Oat Bran Substitute Policy? Victory Bread Campaign. What crucial 1950s step reshaped disaster response by establishing federal emergency coordination protocols, Civil Defense Act, Disaster Relief Network, or Emergency Broadcast System? Civil Defense Act. Which 1940s decision led to a major increase in free school lunches across poor American communities? War Food Distribution Plan, Children's Nutrition Initiative, or National School Lunch Act? National School Lunch Act. Which 1950s hygiene campaign helped drastically lower infection rates in rural American hospitals? Sterile glove mandate, hand washing posters, or boiled linen reuse rule? Hand washing posters. Which 1940s UK utility innovation helped minimise winter fuel waste and improve home efficiency? Timed heating meters, coal ration tokens, or insulated water tanks? Timed heating meters. What 1950s agricultural method helped farmers reduce seed costs while increasing food yield overall? Cross-pollination rotation, precise planting, or mechanical seed drills? Precision planting. Which material change in the 1940s improved military uniforms by speeding, drying, and resisting mildew in deployments? Synthetic blend fabric, waxed cotton, or linen canvas hybrid? Synthetic blend fabric. Which 1950s housing policy helped diversify American neighborhoods despite fierce political resistance? Fair Housing Pilot, Mixed Income Zoning, or Urban Renewal Act? Urban Renewal Act. Which 1940s coinage reform helped the UK reduce wartime copper usage without disrupting the circulation? Brass coin minting, aluminium farthings, or steel penny production? Brass coin minting. Which 1950s innovation allowed small-town newspapers to quickly incorporate national wire reports? Teletype machines, rotary printing plates, or microfilm rolls? Teletype machines. Which 1940s hospital upgrade helped reduce surgical deaths caused by unpredictable blood pressure drops? Portable BP monitors, IV fluid regulators, or anesthesia gas meters? IV fluid regulators. Which 1950s development changed American food production by extending shelf life without canning? Radiation pasteurization, flash freezing, or freeze drying? Freeze drying. Which 1940s soil treatment helped British farmers overcome acidic land and grow more root vegetables. Lime application, gypsum blending, or saltpeter rotation. Lime application. Which 1950s technique allowed safer childbirth in rural areas lacking fully equipped hospitals, oxygen-equipped delivery bags, phone-based midwife alerts, or mobile maternity vans? Mobile maternity vans. Which 1940s rural power innovation helped spread electricity to remote US farms efficiently? Cooperative substations, diesel microgrids, or shared pole networks? Cooperative substations. Which 1950s packaging method changed food safety by reducing the risk of contamination during shipping? Vacuum sealing, aluminium foil lining, or triple barrier pouches? Vacuum sealing. Which 1940s industrial policy helped prevent severe fuel shortages during global maritime blockades? Synthetic oil refining, fuel rationing coupons, or neutral port stockpiling? Synthetic oil refining. Which 1950s health campaign helped British coal miners reduce black lung disease through unexpected workplace measures? Daily lung function checks, compulsory face masks, or wet cutting methods? Wet cutting methods. Which overlooked 1940s experiment led to improved radio signals on ships by manipulating water salinity levels? Salt buoy transmission, conductive hull layering, or electro-seawater tuning? Conductive hull layering. Which 1950s cooking method was promoted to conserve fuel in British kitchens during post-war shortages? Haybox cooking, open fire grilling, or lard-sealed slow baking? Haybox cooking. What 1940s policy helped boost American highway safety by addressing nighttime driving accidents among older citizens? Reflective sign mandate, curfew driving zones, or red taillight standardization? Red taillight standardization. Which 1950s appliance innovation allowed small-town grocers to sell frozen goods without building full freezers? Countertop glass chests, plug-in freezer cabinets, or ice wall insulators? Plug-in freezer cabinets. What lesser-known 1940s British wartime invention helped reduce bomber detection without relying on camouflage? Chaff release canisters, infrared masking plates, or radar absorbing nets? Chaff release canisters. Which 1950s advancement allowed rural schools in America to standardize classroom temperature for learning consistency? Zoned oil heaters, insulated ceiling fans, or thermostat governors? Thermostat governors. Which unique 1940s post office reform reduced mail theft in transit without using advanced locks or alarms? Tamper rings, wax sealed chains, or colour-coded bags? Colour-coded bags. Which 1950s policy helped restore soil in the American Dust Bowl regions by changing farming practices permanently? Contour ploughing incentive, topsoil seed bank grant, or windbreak forest program? Contour ploughing incentive. And your last one, what 1940s food safety practice helped American diners avoid foodborne illnesses before fridges were widespread? Clock tag system, sodium test strips, or boil before serve orders? Clock tag system.
So, how did you do today? Drop your score in the comments below, and of course, like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And join us next time on Quiz Time.